Karma is a fascinating concept, isn't it? It originates from Indian religious traditions like Hinduism and Buddhism, and it revolves around the idea that our actions generate consequences. In other words, everything we do, whether in words, thoughts, or deeds, comes back to us in some form. It sounds simple, but it carries a depth that's worth understanding better. In Hinduism, karma is directly tied to something called samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Here it's believed that what you did in past lives shapes what you're experiencing now, while your current actions are preparing what's to come. It's like planting seeds. If you sow good actions, the fruits are likely to be positive. And the ultimate goal of it all? To achieve moksha, the liberation from this endless cycle. But that only happens when we live in harmony with Dharma, which acts as a moral compass guiding our choices. In Buddhism, karma takes on a slightly different perspective. The emphasis is more on the intentions behind actions. It's not just about what you do, but why you do it. This is where the three doors of action come into play: the body, speech, and mind. This means that even your thoughts count. However, it's not about punishment or reward, but rather cause and effect. Your intentions shape your future experiences. It's that straightforward. It's important to note that karma is not the same as destiny. Many people confuse the two, but they are quite different. While destiny suggests something predetermined, as if you have no control, karma puts the power in your hands. Your choices and actions determine what happens, giving you the chance to create something better for the future. What's even more interesting is that this concept has gone beyond religious traditions and entered various philosophies and ways of thinking around the world. For example, in Spiritism, karma is seen as a law of cause and effect that explains life's challenges and experiences. These challenges are, in fact, opportunities to evolve morally and spiritually, which gives a more practical and hopeful touch to the idea. So what karma really teaches us is that our actions carry weight. Every choice, no matter how small it seems, leaves a mark. And if we have this awareness, why not strive to do good? After all, what you plant today will be what you harvest tomorrow. Isn't that a call to live with more intention and purpose? It's something that leads us to reflect and perhaps act more consciously. Let's talk briefly about the three types of karma. Have you ever thought that karma isn't just one single straightforward thing? It unfolds into different forms, each with its role, and that makes it even more intriguing. When we understand how these parts connect, it becomes easier to see how our actions influence our lives. Let's break it down in a clear and direct way. First, there's Sankita karma, which is like a chest where all our past actions are stored. Think of it as a file that keeps everything we've done in previous lives, both positive and negative. Although it may feel heavy to think about carrying this history, it doesn't need to be seen as a burden. In fact, it's like a bank of lessons we've accumulated over time. Next, we have Prarabdha karma, which is basically what we're experiencing now. You know that famous phrase, "It is what it is"? Well, it stems from this type of karma. It's as if certain parts of our chest, the Sankita, are activated to shape the experiences of our current life. You can't escape it, but you can deal with it more consciously by adjusting how you respond to the situations that arise. Finally, there's Kriyamana karma, which, in my opinion, is the most fascinating. This is where the present and the choices we're making right now come into play. This type of karma is created every second, with every decision. You know that saying, "The future is in your hands"? It makes a lot of sense when we talk about Kriyamana. Everything you're doing today not only impacts your future, but can also influence future lives. It's the true power of the present, and you have full control over it. These three types of karma are always interconnected. Think of them as gears in a clock. What has passed, what's happening now, and what's to come work together to shape the reality you live in. When you understand how these gears function, it becomes easier to make choices that bring positive results, both for you and those around you. The most incredible part of all this is realizing that, although we have a past that shapes our present, we have the power to create a different future. Isn't that a message of hope? No matter what happened before, every action you take now can be a new seed for transformation. And that, at its core, is what makes karma so liberating. Have you ever wondered why some good or bad things seem to just happen? This idea that there's a reason behind everything might be tied to karma. Unlike what many believe, karma isn't a system of punishment or reward. It works as a natural reflection of the choices we make, bringing back what we put into the world. Imagine that every action you take is like throwing a stone into a lake. The ripples that form are neither good nor bad, they're simply the direct result of what was done. These ripples affect the surface, spread outward, and eventually can come back to you. If the stone was thrown gently, the ripples are soft. If it was thrown with force, the waves can be intense and unpredictable. Karma works similarly. It's the echo of your actions. For instance, let's say someone builds a life full of generosity and respect. Chances are, this person will cultivate genuine friendships, emotional support, and a lighter, more positive environment around them. On the other hand, choices made out of selfishness or ill intent often create obstacles and difficulties that eventually return as lessons. And this is the key point. Karma has nothing to do with punishment. It doesn't decide that you should suffer. Instead, it's more like a teacher presenting the same lesson until you learn it. When we face the challenges that karma brings, we can use them as opportunities for growth. This completely changes how we deal with difficult situations. For example, consider someone who constantly struggles to maintain healthy relationships. This may reflect past attitudes or behavioral patterns. Karma isn't punishing this person, but rather showing what needs to be adjusted so they can grow emotionally and hopefully create more genuine connections in the future. The most fascinating thing is that karma is always at work, whether you realize it or not. Even the smallest actions, a sincere smile at someone or a harsh word said in anger, contribute to what you'll experience. This isn't something to fear, it's something to motivate you. Every moment is a chance to act with more awareness and plant better seeds. Another important aspect is that karma doesn't work alone. It's influenced by free will. This means that even if your past actions have created challenges, you have the power to choose how you respond to them. When you respond with patience, compassion, and understanding, the impact can be softened, and the lessons become valuable for your growth. It's also interesting to note that karma doesn't just affect individuals. It can also be felt in groups, such as families or communities. Behavioral patterns repeated over generations, for instance, can be broken when someone chooses to act differently. This shows that, beyond learning from karma, you can also be an agent of change. Ultimately, karma gives us responsibility, not fear. It reminds us that we're part of a continuous cycle of actions and reactions. Instead of fearing its consequences, the most important thing is to learn from them. After all, everything you do has the potential to create a future that aligns more closely with your values and dreams. Karma has a curious way of manifesting itself, sometimes with such precision that it seems unbelievable. Real-life stories can illustrate how this law of cause and effect works, showing that our actions have a direct, and often unexpected, impact on what we experience. Let's look at an example to bring this idea into the real world. This intriguing story is about Philip A. Kontos, which occurred in 2011. Kontos was part of a group protesting against mandatory motorcycle helmet laws in the United States. He was strongly opposed to the idea. Incredibly, on the way home from the protest, he was involved in a motorcycle accident, and because he wasn't wearing a helmet, he succumbed to his injuries. This story provides a clear example of how immediate decisions can have a direct impact on our lives, and how our actions have consequences that can reach us in unpredictable ways. It's not about punishment, it's simply the logical result of a choice made at that moment. This story may seem extreme, but it helps us understand something essential about karma. It's not a supernatural force chasing anyone. It's more like a current of cause and effect. When we make decisions, especially those that affect others, we're putting something into motion. Sometimes it comes back quickly, as in the case of Philip Kontos, and other times it may take years, but it will happen. It's also important to remember that karma manifests positively too. Imagine someone who consistently helps others without expecting anything in return. It may take time, but this positive energy will return, perhaps as unexpected opportunities, meaningful relationships, or even moments of protection in difficult situations. Just as negativity finds a way back, positivity does too. This example teaches us something powerful. Every choice, no matter how small, creates an impact. Philip Kontos' story may be extreme, but it shows us that karma is always present, acting as a reflection of our actions and intentions. Karma doesn't punish or reward, it simply responds. But we don't have to wait for karma to act so dramatically to learn from it. This story serves as a reminder that taking care of our actions today is the best way to build a lighter and more positive future. It's about acting with awareness and reflecting on the effect that each decision can have. Relationships are, without a doubt, one of the aspects most influenced by karma. We'll explore the connection between karma and relationships in more detail in another video. Often, the actions we've taken in the past, whether in this life or others, create a continuous effect that shapes how we connect with others. You know that feeling when certain patterns seem to repeat themselves in your relationships? That might be karma at work, bringing situations to the surface that call for reflection and adjustment. It's not punishment, but rather a chance for you to learn and grow from these experiences. When we look at current relationships, the marks of karma can manifest in many ways. You might notice that you're constantly challenged to deal with difficult people, or that there's a pattern of attracting the same type of conflict. This isn't a coincidence. These situations often stem from past actions, whether through how we've treated others or behaviors that, consciously or unconsciously, left negative imprints. However, karma isn't set in stone. It offers the chance to break cycles and build something new starting in the present moment. Positive actions play a crucial role here. When you act with empathy, respect, and compassion, you create energy that strengthens your connections. Small gestures of kindness, like truly listening to someone or offering genuine support, have a profound impact, even if you don't see it immediately. These acts not only help build healthier relationships but also balance accumulated karma, allowing you and others to engage in more harmonious dynamics. It's important to remember that karma in relationships doesn't work one-sidedly. It's a two-way street. Just as your actions affect others, their actions influence you. When one person decides to act consciously and positively, it can inspire others to do the same. This creates a favorable cycle of energy, where harmony becomes not just possible but natural. It's like planting seeds in fertile soil. With care, the result will be a field of flowers instead of thorns. Building healthy relationships starts with being aware of your own actions. Ask yourself how you're contributing to the dynamics you experience. Are you fostering balanced connections, or are you perpetuating conflicts? By choosing to act with positive intention, you not only improve your relationships but also create lasting change that can be felt on many levels. Karma, after all, reminds us that we're responsible for the energy we bring into the world and into our relationships, and this energy is the foundation of everything. Karma doesn't stop at physical actions, it's also shaped by our thoughts and emotions. The way we think directly influences our mental state and, consequently, our emotional well-being. When we allow ourselves to be trapped in negative thoughts, like resentment, guilt, or severe self-criticism, we create internal energy that can turn into a cycle of dissatisfaction. These accumulated thoughts can lead to feelings like anxiety, stress, or even depression. On the flip side, positive thoughts and actions have the power to create fertile ground for a healthy mind. When we choose gratitude, optimism, and empathy, we plant seeds that promote balance and emotional well-being. A simple habit, like reflecting on 3 good things that happened during the day, can help cultivate a more favorable mental state. Small acts of kindness towards others also have a powerful effect. Not only do they benefit those around us, but they also reinforce feelings of purpose and fulfillment within ourselves. Mindful practices like meditation and mindfulness are excellent allies for transforming mental karma. They help bring thoughts to the present, reducing the influence of past worries or future anxieties. When we're aware of the present moment, we become better equipped to recognize and interrupt negative patterns before they grow and dominate our minds. These practices, beyond improving focus and calmness, create a solid foundation for cultivating positive emotions. Another important point is self-compassion. Often, we are our own harshest critics, which can generate heavy mental karma marked by feelings of inadequacy or failure. Learning to treat yourself with kindness and forgiveness is essential to breaking this cycle. Self-compassion doesn't mean avoiding responsibility, but understanding that everyone makes mistakes and that this is part of the learning process. When we practice forgiveness, both for ourselves and others, we release energy that allows us to move forward with greater lightness. It's essential to remember that our minds are like gardens. What we plant grows. If we feed negative thoughts, we'll reap unfavorable emotions and mental states. On the other hand, if we nurture positive thoughts and conscious actions, we create an internal space of peace and balance. In this context, karma shows us that we are responsible for what we choose to nourish. Therefore, taking care of our mental health is not just necessary, it's an act of self-love and a step toward building a more harmonious life. Now let's talk a bit about negative karma. Negative karma isn't a permanent sentence. It's like an echo of the choices we've made, but the good news is that we can neutralize it with conscious actions in the present. One of the first steps to transforming negative karma is recognizing the consequences of your past actions and taking responsibility for them. This doesn't mean blaming yourself or staying stuck in what happened. It means using that understanding as a starting point for real and meaningful change. A powerful strategy for balancing karma is the practice of forgiveness. Forgiving yourself and others may seem difficult, but it's incredibly freeing. When you hold on to grudges or resentment, you're perpetuating a cycle of negative energy that affects both you and others. Forgiveness breaks this chain, creating space for new possibilities. Remember, forgiving doesn't mean approving of what happened. It means choosing to let go of the emotional weight it carries. It's also important to cultivate patience and persistence in the process of transforming karma. Change doesn't happen overnight, but every small step counts. Think of it like planting a tree. Even if the fruits take time to appear, every day of care and dedication makes a difference. By acting with intention and purpose, you're not only neutralizing negative karma, but also creating a path of learning, growth, and renewal. And ultimately, that's what truly matters. Understanding karma means understanding that we are fundamentally responsible for our actions, and that changes everything. When we realize that every choice we make generates consequences, positive or negative, we begin to view our attitudes much more consciously. Taking this responsibility isn't just an act of maturity, but also a way to empower ourselves with the importance our actions have on what happens in our lives and in the lives of others. Personal responsibility in the context of karma reminds us that we cannot blame others or circumstances for the situations we face. Of course, not everything is within our control, but our responses and choices in the face of challenges are. When we accept that our actions play a fundamental role in what we experience, we start shaping our present and future with more intention. It's like taking the wheel of our lives and steering it toward where we truly want to go. The most interesting part is how understanding karma can motivate us to adopt more ethical and conscious behaviors. When we know that our actions have a return, we think twice before acting. This doesn't mean living in fear of being punished, but acting in a way that reflects the type of energy we want to receive back. Want respect? Show respect. Want harmony? Foster attitudes that promote it. This simple logic helps align our actions with our deepest values. Taking responsibility also teaches us that even when we make mistakes, there's room to learn and correct them. Karma isn't a destructive force, but an ongoing opportunity for growth. Every situation we face can be seen as a reflection of something we can adjust, and this gives us a sense of purpose amid challenges. Instead of playing the victim, we can use karma as a tool to become better people. Ultimately, karma reminds us that when we act with awareness and responsibility, we add positive contributions to people's lives and the world. And that deep down is what makes the concept of karma so special. It teaches us to live with more authenticity, ethics, and intention, knowing that what we put into the world always comes back to us in some form. Whether it's a small gesture or a big decision, every action matters. Cultivate positive attitudes, act with respect, and treat others with empathy. These simple changes can transform not only your karma, but also the energy around you. The present moment is your chance to rewrite the past and build the future. Plant good seeds today to reap better fruits tomorrow. After all, the power to change is in your hands. I hope you enjoyed the video. Share it with others so they can also benefit from this message, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to receive our new content about spirituality. May God bless your life. See you soon.